the Tidradio TD-738 DMR and analog radio, today on N2EWS radio. Okay, let's get the basics of testing out of the way. Let's see what the kind of power we've got here. It's supposed to be a 10-watt radio. On 2 meters. Looks like 11.2, 11.3. On 70 centimeters, roughly 11 watts. Oh, 10.8, whatever. It's pretty much true to what they rate the radio. Now, I'm going to put up some screenshots of the spectral purity of this radio. And I find it to be very impressive, especially for when you're putting up 10 watts. There are no harmonics, which is quite good. So let's take a look at the CPS software. One thing I might want to point out here is, do you see this DP730 UV, not 738? And if you look at the About screen, copyright 2020. So this may appear as a new radio on the Tidradio site, but I suspect it's a brand of radio that they slap their label on. They've done that with other things, like I think the TD-660 is the Baofeng 1801. That doesn't matter as long as it's a good radio, but just FYI. Notice that here I changed the SK2 short to zone down and SK2 long to zone up. And that's how I managed to get around the fact that you can't use the keyboard. It's pretty straightforward software. You put your channels here, and you have to get everything in your RX that you want the digital channels you want to put in your RX group list, like any other DMR CPS program. And in the zones, I have Brandmeister, TGIF. Looks like a lot of repetition there, but that's because I'm using this with different hotspots. For example, I have one for a hotspot that's simplex, and I have another one for a different hotspot, and so on, because I used it for testing. And it works on all of those. You've got all the different menu options that you can enable or disable. And like I said, here's the settings here. So it's fairly good. It's good CPS software. Each software that comes with each radio is quite different, and you have to get used to the way they separate all of the different things that you have to create and to set up. But this was fairly easy to set up. No complaints there. So let's listen to the audio. I've got it on the FM function. That's kind of a neat screen that it has. You have to actually turn it on.
Community. More at rmhc-ctx.org.
Support comes from the city of Elgin, kicking off their home for the...
And then you have to turn it off in order to get out of there. So the audio is great. So the bottom line is, do I like this radio? Yeah, I kind of like it. Do I think it's worth the $79 or $80 that you'd pay for it? No, I don't. The quirks that it has, where you can't press any buttons while you're receiving a station, really bothers me. The fact that I have to program a key to switch zones, it doesn't have an option to do that unless you do that programming. Those are, I wouldn't say that they're deal killers, but it's annoying, and you can get DMR radios for a lot less than what this one costs. The audio is great, love that. It does analog and digital very well. So you're going to have to decide for yourself whether or not it's worth the extra work you're going to have to do to make this a fun radio. The only other quirk I noticed is that you can chunk a digital channel and listen to what's going on there, but you turn off the radio for maybe an hour and then turn it back on again, and you're going to have to chunk the digital station again in order to connect and listen. Is that preferable behavior? I mean, for all I know, it's the default behavior in my other radios. The fact that they continue listening even after I've turned them off for an hour, maybe that's the quirk. But that's just something you should be aware of. Oh, and there are two other things I find annoying. As I showed you earlier, when you change zones, it switches to a frequency display, not the default channel display that you were looking at before. And that one's kind of, it's trivial, but it bothers me. And lastly, the CPS software, it takes a full minute to read from the radio and a full minute to write to the radio. And while that's not unbearable, all my other radios, they read and write from anywhere from 10 seconds to 30 seconds. So, again, not a deal breaker, but something you should be aware of. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. Please like, please subscribe, and please share. 73s.